Welcome to the Disgruntled Millennial Podcast. My name is Brett Siegel, the Disgruntled Millennial, broadcasting to you from my safe space down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. Don't forget to stick it to feminists by liking our Facebook page, The Disgruntled Millennial. Naturally, Facebook hates what we do over here at the Disgruntled Millennial. Well, because we like freedom, and we're not afraid to talk about it. So if you like what we do, help us bypass Facebook's anti-American, Sharia law-obsessed, tyrannical algorithms and share. Don't forget to subscribe to the Disgruntled Millennial on iTunes or Podbean, and also visit our website at dmpodcast.com, dmpodcast.com. And if you really love America, go to our iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out.
Dimitri, bring in the prisoner.
What am I doing here? Where is this place, man? My name is Pedro.
Are you Pedro Gonzalez?
Yes, of course, man. My name is Pedro.
It says here we don't have any record of you. For 17 years, it appears you have been illegally staying here in Russia.
Of course, man. I'm a citizen of the world. I got a right to be here, man.
You do now, don't you?
Yeah, man. Of course.
Do you know why you are here?
No, but this place looks pretty freaking creepy, man. What's with all the water droplets and shit?
You were posting anti-Russian propaganda on Facebook. And it says here you have applied for state benefits 16 times. You realize it's a serious crime here.
What are you, some kind of a racist or something? I've got a right to free healthcare, man. Make Russia Mexico again, man. It's all about la raza.
It is now, isn't it? You do realize we never would have caught on to you had you not been posting anti-Russian propaganda on Facebook, right?
Okay, man, joke's over, man. Let me go. Untie me, bro. It's time to let me go. I got freedom of speech, man. It's human rights.
You have freedom of speech now, do you?
Man, stop sharpening those knives, man. You're creeping me out, man. I got freedom of speech, man. If this were New York, Mayor de Blasio would let me burn the American flag right in Times Square.
He would now, wouldn't he? Sergey, I think we have everything we need from this one. Take him to the gulag.
What, man? No, don't take me anywhere, man. No, get off me, bro. Ay, Dios mío. Ay, just stop it. Get off of me.
Bring in the next prisoner.
Greetings and salutations. You are tuning into the Disgruntled Millennial Podcast. My name is Brett Siegel, the Disgruntled Millennial. I always broadcast to you not live from my safe space down here in northern Florida, where I'm always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. Today, not quite so free from your identity politics. The left continues to play identity politics, and they continue to lose. Eventually, the race card will expire, and nothing will be left on the left other than the bare bones of leftism, which is basically just deconstructionism, the root principle of critical theory, which is basically destruction for its own sake. You would think that they would begin to change their strategy a little bit, but geez, they just can't take a hint. You see, most people don't want to be divided into victim groups. Sometimes, though, for fun, we get to play along, because even with identity politics, conservatives win. Our blacks are better, our women are better, our trans are better, our gays are better, and in the age of Bill Bridges not walls, our Latinos are better as well. So lefties, you want identity politics? Here it is. I have before me the kind of person leftists hate the most. In the age of Trump, they are the most reviled and despised of all Trump supporters. In Black's Law Dictionary, next to the word deplorable, there is a picture of a conservative Latina. I have with me the conservative Latina, Emma Jimenez. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit about, let's just get started. Like first of all, where did you come from? Let's get a little background information. Where did you come from? I know that question in certain groups is hate speech. It's a microaggression to ask somebody where they come from because, hey, they might not be from here.
I am not ashamed to say where I came from. I came from a third world country. I was born in Lima, Peru. Lima, Peru is in South America. I was born there and immigrated legally with my family when I was very young. And it wasn't until a few years ago that I took the naturalization test to become a U.S. citizen, and I passed with flying colors. And the test consists of how well you can speak English, how well you can write in English, and how much do you know about American history and in regards to the government, politics, etc. And I passed with 90%.
That's amazing. And, most people, they come over here, they make their way over here. They don't want to learn the language and they don't want to learn our customs. They don't want to learn the Constitution. They have no idea what it is to be an American, yet they still need and want to be here. Why did you immigrate to the United States? Would you consider Peru to be as Trump might call it, a shithole?
Well, you know what? That shithole comment was never even proven to be coming from the mouth of Trump. But let's be honest. Why does any immigrant come to the U.S.? They come here because they're leaving an awful country that's not serving them, any purpose anymore. It's not helping them. So yeah, it is a shithole country. Peru is a shithole country, continues to be a shithole country because of the shitholes that are running the place.
Right. Well, like you said, Trump, it wasn't even proven that Trump said that. But you know what? Let's just assume for a minute that he did say that. How is that even untrue? The boats are always coming this way. The boats are not going the other way. Pretty much whatever country. Look, not all countries are shitholes. But let's just face it. The boats are coming this way. At the end of the day, there is some truth to this statement. And, there are things going on in these other third world countries where socialism sort of reigns true, where people are, eating dogs and on the side of the road begging for food and children are starving to death. And for some reason, the boats are coming this way. People get here and yet they want to bring that socialism that they're fleeing. They want to bring it here into the United States. Is that sort of the vibe that you've been getting from immigrants that are, from people who have come here and then start to complain about America?
Yeah, America is the country that everyone loves to insult and hate, but yet they're not willing to leave it. And that speaks volumes. Right. They're not willing to leave the country that they claim to be racist, that they claim to oppress them. No, if anything, they're doing everything in their power to stay in this country. A lot of legal immigrants will tell you that they do not support illegal immigration. Let me clarify this. These people that are here illegally are not immigrants. They've been hiding behind that word immigrant to justify their illegal actions. You have people like Jorge Ramos that keeps using the word immigrant. They're not immigrants. They are unwelcome invaders that are not willing to learn our customs, are willing to drain our system, and are willing to take away from the American taxpayer to have a better life for themselves. They have multiple children and they put their children in the school systems that are paid by the American taxpayers. Their children are graduating, going to college, and they're not leaving, and they're the ones that are insulting America the most. And America is a very welcoming country. I mean, it's so welcoming that it's allowing these people to not just work here illegally, but to also have their children attend public schools at the cost of us, right, the Americans that are paying into this. Where in Mexico do you have dreamers? Dreamers in Mexico don't exist. If you enter illegally in Mexico, you go to jail. In Mexico, not just Mexico, but in any other country, they don't have ESL programs. You have to know the language that in that country, you know, and it's just become ridiculous.
Right. America seems to be the only place in the world that's not allowed to have a border. Every other country has a border. Mexico has it baked into their constitution that you can't change the demographics of Mexico, but yet you have all these Mexicans coming over here saying, make America Mexico again, make America Mexico again. You know, America seems to, it's to me, it's because of this whole white guilt. America is this great colonizer. You know, people have sort of bought into this idea that Americans have something to feel guilty for, and therefore, since we are prosperous, since the boats are coming this way, that is nothing more than evidence to a leftist that America has gotten everything that it has through ill-gotten gains. We're colonizers. We stole the technology from the Indians and from the Native Americans. We stole the technology from Africa. We stole all this stuff from all these other countries, and that's the only reason why we have the prosperity that we have here. None of these leftists stop to think that it is the ideology of America, that is Western values, Western civilization, that brought that on, and that America doesn't have a monopoly on the idea of freedom. America doesn't have a monopoly on the idea of capitalism. Any country can employ the kind of value structure that we had over here that led to the prosperity that we have over here. And instead of trying to emulate what we do here, they want to criticize it, and they want to basically claim that Americans should feel guilty about something. So basically we land up with this situation where everyone around the world is able to protect their borders. All the other countries in the world are able to protect the demographic of their country, except America. America is the only place that's not allowed to do that. Isn't that a little bit infuriating to you, having come from sort of a third world country where you can see day to day, where day-to-day life is just different than it is here in America? I mean, you get that vibe that immigrants feel that America stole everything. Peru is a third world country because America made it that way.
It's very infuriating. No, Peru is not a third world country because America made it that way. Peru is a third world country because of the people that are running it. So here's the thing. We are not a charity organization. We cannot keep having people come here illegally and take advantage of our system and take advantage of our American taxpayers. America needs hardworking legal immigrants who respect our nation's laws. America doesn't want and doesn't need more entitlement-minded individuals who feel they are above the law. We are a nation of immigrants, but also a nation established under laws. When let's talk about DACA, for example, how much do they truly appreciate this country? According to, Democrats and everything, we have a little over 800,000 DACA recipients registered. Ask me how many of them actually enlisted in the Navy, in the Army, in the military. Less than 1,000. That speaks volumes. That says, only less than 1,000 that are here undocumented, that are here illegally, are willing to serve our country.
Right, and you get this chortling from leftists. Oh, the illegal immigrants, people can't be illegal. We need to have them come out of the shadows. I mean, how does that make you feel, having gone through a situation where you had to go through the stringent, the stringent immigration policies in order to get your citizenship? How does it make you feel when people just, kind of play the guilt card? They say, "Oh, we need to bring them out of the shadows. They're dreamers. They're, Americans are dreamers too,
Yeah, Americans are dreamers too. I'm a dreamer. I came here legally and became a U.S. citizen. I raised a child as a single mother, worked 3 jobs, and went to college. And no one paid for my college education. I had to pay for my college education on my own. And now you have programs that are willing to pay for these DACA recipients' 4-year college education. What about programs that pay for legal immigrants' college education for 4 years? How about Black Americans?
Right. See, now
what makes them better than us? There is nothing wrong with enforcing our immigration laws, because enforcing our immigration laws, which is what Trump is currently doing, is sending a message that we will no longer tolerate this type of behavior. Enforcing our immigration laws encourages people to come to the U.S. legally and discourages illegal immigration.
What do you think about Trump's new plan to defund sanctuary cities? How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's great. I mean, we're spending billions of dollars every year federal tax dollars on funding these sanctuary cities, when we could be using this money to help restore our nation. Hire more border patrol, put it towards the wall, and protect our borders. We can even be using the money to help our vets. I mean, what makes these people more important than us? Legal immigrants, American citizens, Black citizens, white citizens, Asian citizens. What makes them more important than us? What makes them more important than our veterans?
I agree with you implicitly. And one of the things that bothers me so much is how demagogued the issue has become. Now, all of a sudden, you cannot be a Latina or a Latino and support Donald Trump, because if you do, well, then you support the racist policies of Donald Trump. Build bridges, not walls, to these other countries. I mean, obviously, globalism is a terrible thing. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, America is the big place where you want to be, and everyone is going to want a piece of the pie. America is like the hot girl at the party, and everybody sort of wants to get a date. And you can't just go around saying, "Oh, well, you have to have equal opportunity to the jerk in the room as you would to the nice guy in the room." You just can't do that. The identity politics, the way that they have demagogued this issue is through identity politics, and now all of a sudden you can't be a Latino or a Latina without bashing Donald Trump.
Yeah, identity politics is the destruction of individual thinking, and since the election of Donald Trump, it's at its all-time worst. If you're Latino, Latina, Black, therefore you must blindly adhere to liberal propaganda and never ever question it, because the moment you do, you're a sellout, a traitor to your race. And it's a bully tactic. That's all it is. It's a bully tactic, and it's an assault on one of our most fundamental human rights, and that's our right to freedom of speech and freedom of thought. It is a nasty tool that the left uses on conservative Republican and conservative minorities that don't fit the narrative.
Right. Now, you've been making all sorts of waves on Facebook and on Twitter and on social media. You've been making waves. You've been sort of an outspoken conservative Latina, and now people are sort of, when I was red-pilled, I thought that the response was going to be universally positive. But then it turns out that no, all my friends decided that we're not friends anymore. I have entire wings of my family that won't talk to me anymore because I came out as a conservative, as a staunch Republican. And what has been the reaction from the Latino community after you started getting a little bit more outspoken about your conservative values?
They believe that they have the right to take away my identity, which is completely laughable. They call me a sellout because I support the Republican Party. I support President Trump because there is nothing to resist from President Trump. Illegal immigration is down. Over 300,000 jobs were added since February.
Right.
The stock market is up. Black and Hispanic unemployment is at its lowest that it's ever been. So what the hell am I going to continue to resist? The fact that I'm no longer going to get an Obama phone, I'm not going to qualify for food stamps. I mean, they're the sellouts. They are. If you look at every ghetto community, every community that, every city that lives in the hood, that's a hood, ghetto, whatever, look at who's running it. It's the Democrats. It's been Democrats that have been running those cities for years, for decades. And who lives there the most are minorities, Hispanics and Blacks. So they're selling their own people out for what? A free Obama phone and more money for their food stamp card? It's ridiculous.
Not just that, they're selling out for, this feeling of virtue, this virtue signaling. All they're doing is basically they're selling out their own people for the feeling that things are that Donald Trump, that they're doing something good. And that's one of the things about Democrats that really pisses me off. It's because even though Donald Trump is making good changes, they can't see a good thing when it's right in front of their face. Yeah. And this leads me to believe that they are not really interested in results. They are not really interested in making life better for Americans. They're interested in propagating their agenda. They're interested in propagating this identity politics. And like I said, when you take all that away, all you have left is critical theory and deconstructionism, which is basically nihilism for for its own sake, deconstructionism for its own sake, destroying things for its own sake. And the identity politics is just a tool that they use to do that. And if that weren't the case, if that's not what they truly wanted at the end of the day, then believe me, they would give Donald Trump some props. And I'll tell you something, they would actually do better with their deconstructionism if they threw Donald Trump a bone once in a while. But this screaming at the sky is falling, every tweet that Donald Trump, every time Donald Trump tweets, the Statue of Liberty is crying, It's just this over the top excitability about absolutely everything that's going on. It's just what makes them even more and more transparent,
Yeah. I mean, honestly, liberals remind me of that jealous ex-girlfriend or jealous ex-boyfriend that you can't get off your back. That no matter how good you do in life, how much you're succeeding, how much positivity and harmony you're bringing onto others, they will still point out everything negative about you. And that's what they remind me of. They remind me of that jealous ex-boyfriend, jealous ex-girlfriend. Here's the thing. The reality is that when it comes to the left, their hatred for Trump is far greater than their love for America. They are consumed with hating Trump. It has become a trend for them. And so much that they feel that they have the right to censor the voices of anyone that doesn't agree with them. And this goes to, censoring conservative voices, Republican voices, conservatives that have been bullied into silence for far too long. They've had enough, especially conservative minorities that are tired of the left speaking for them. I, for one, I'm tired of the left speaking for me, and that's why I created the Conservative Latina. And to my surprise, there were other minorities, Blacks and Hispanics, that felt the exact same way. Minorities that don't agree with the liberal narrative that has been created for them serve no purpose in their liberal propaganda. Therefore, their voice doesn't matter and will never, ever be acknowledged or valued. If anything, their voice is constantly attacked with violence, deflection, and ridicule. And thank God for that, because it proves that the left is not tolerant of freedom of speech. Never has been.
I agree with you 100%. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the reactions that you've been getting from your Latino and Latina brothers and sisters, I guess you could say. The people who you would say that Donald Trump is actually helping, but they would say that, no, Donald Trump, he's just a racist. And let's talk a little bit about some of those reactions. What do you get? What kind of reaction have you gotten from them?
I have been called everything in the book. Everything that they accuse whites of saying to them, they have turned it around and said it to me. They have told me that they hope I die, that wall is for me, that they hope that someone in my family gets deported. They have called me a spick, a wetback, a beaner, my husband is white, that's probably how I got my green card and my citizenship. They make all of these assumptions. They make these assumptions that I'm from Mexico. I mean, and these are supposed to be my own people.
Right.
And yet I'm more racially attacked by them than any white Republican. I have never been attacked so racially by any other group other than my own people, my own brothers and sisters.
Well, I'm from Miami. I'm a Miami native, okay? And I'll tell you something. I grew up in Hispanic schools, in Black schools, in extremely racially mixed neighborhoods and schools. And believe me, white people do not have a monopoly on racism. White people do not have a monopoly on racism. You have no idea how many times I've heard honky cracker white boy, gringo, oh yeah, gringo, I've heard racially charged language my entire life, except there's one race of people that just aren't allowed to be racist. And guess what? White Americans generally tend to not be racist. They generally tend to think a little bit more, think a little bit more carefully about making racially charged statements. But for some reason, I know from living in Miami for pretty much my entire life that there are racists of all shades and of all shapes and sizes and colors.
I mean, we have radicals on both sides. Do we have radicals on the right? Of course. But we cannot say that we do not have radicals on the left. We have radicals on both sides. And right now, again, the side that has been attacking me the most racially has been the left. And it's not just my own people. It's been also whites telling me how I'm supposed to think. That they're ashamed that someone that's an immigrant is against illegal immigration. That they hope I get deported instead. How the hell do you deport a legal U.S. citizen?
Well, they clearly don't know how the system works, and you saw this. No. You saw this pretty loud and clear when they're like, "Well, why do we even have the Electoral College when Donald Trump was elected? Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. We should abolish the Electoral College, just like we should abolish the Second Amendment. We should abolish the First Amendment. Like these people literally have no idea what it means to be an American. Yet they're the ones sitting here saying, "Build bridges, not walls. Love Trump's hate." All those strange leftist mantras that they like to repeat to ad nauseum, like they just as though they're actually making some sort of an argument.
No, I completely agree with you. The problem with the left is that they can't see past an individual's minority status. Take mine, for instance. I'm Hispanic. I'm a legal immigrant. I'm a proud U.S. citizen, and I love this country very much. I support our troops. I pledge for the flag. I have family members that have also enlisted, in the Navy and the Army. The left, they use identity politics as a way to destroy any argument that's a complete opposite of theirs. And when the left chooses to attack you on a personal level, rather than address the topic of discussion at that time, it only proves that they are incapable of accepting you as an individual thinker, especially as a minority. They can't stand a minority that does not fit their narrative. Now, liberal minorities that, have attacked me, they need to understand that when you prevent someone from saying or doing something that's a complete opposite of their way of thinking, based on the color of their skin, their country of origin, that they are no different than the racists that claim to oppress them, because what they're doing to me is oppressing me. And these are my own people, by saying that I can't think this way, that I shouldn't say this because it's the complete opposite of their way of thinking. That's a form of oppression.
Right. I'll tell you something. There's one thing that bothers me more than minorities trying to claim some sort of victim status where it's obvious that they don't really have one. For example, when black people go around saying, "Oh, well, you oppressed me because you're white and white people owned slaves in America for 75 years and that means you have to give me slave reparations." They're claiming a second-hand oppression. They're not oppressed. They did not suffer the kind of oppression. They did not drink from the black fountain, and they did not suffer under Jim Crow laws. Yet they're trying to second-handedly assume the oppression of other people, of other human beings in history, and put it on you when you actually didn't have anything to do with it. But what pisses me off more than that is the white liberals who go around making third-hand oppression, who go around claiming oppression in the third hand. They go around saying, "Oh, well, I'm going to sit here and virtue signal for this guy who was claiming oppression that he didn't actually assume, that he didn't actually experience, and that he's going and pinning this on people who actually don't deserve it." These white freaking liberals piss me off so much, because all it is a bunch of virtue signaling, and they have these. Oh my God, I can't tell you how much they piss me off. What your experience with white liberals is pretty much similar to that, right?
Oh yeah, I mean they're equally as racist. They tell me how I'm supposed to think, that I don't know it, but I am a victim, and then they bring my light skin color, because I am a very fair light-skinned Latina, and they're like, "Well, you've had it lucky because you look white." No, I have not had it lucky because I look white. I still had to pay the same exact amount for my citizenship test because I am an immigrant. So looking white didn't serve a purpose for me. The test still cost the exact same amount it would have to someone that was a brown, a shader darker than I am.
Right. And this is just the left's attempt to, further divide people. It's not just enough that we divide people among race, the Hispanics, the blacks, the whites, the, Indians or the Chinese or what. It's not enough that we do that. We have to divide people up even further. We have to talk about dark-skinned Latinos and light-skinned Latinos. And they use these words like colorism. Everything is an ism, right? Yeah. Everything is an ism. Colorism. It's the principle and the practice that treats light, fairer-skinned people better than those who have darker hues, which to me ultimately it's just another look. Eventually, the left is going to divide people up into so many different ways. They're actually going to reach what it is that we want for them to reach, which is just to see each other as individuals. Eventually they're going to do that. Except here's what the caveat is: in their point of view, it's all about oppression. In our point of view, it's all about having the individuality to go and live life and seek your own value for yourself. It's not about claiming some sort of victim status. But colorism is definitely one of those things that is, that has sort of infected the leftist mind now. Now you have Latinos and Latinas sort of eating their own. Now there's, even people who are from the same family, born from the same parents, if a sibling is lighter skinned than their other sibling, you have siblings fighting each other about, I'm more oppressed than you, from the same family, people who are from the same family. It's absolutely absurd and absolutely ridiculous, and all it does is divide people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. If you go to my Facebook, and you and I are friends on Facebook, you will see pictures of my brothers. My brothers, they look black. Right. And my sisters, they're very light-skinned. The only features that are dark about us are our eyes and our black hair, and that's pretty much it. Our skin, I like to say, is lightly toasted, but it's not as dark as my brothers. Yet my brothers, they'll be the first ones to tell you that that they don't feel any different. That they've never once called me out on my skin color, and I've never once called them out on their skin color. We both have the same parents. My mother just happens to be light, and my father just happens to be very dark. This is just another way for the left to further divide us. Like I said, they cannot see past someone's skin color. They cannot see past someone's minority status. They can't see past that. They do not see people as individual thinkers.
I agree with you 100%. Let's talk a little bit about electioneering, elections. Do you support posting ICE agents at polling stations?
Excuse me?
Do you support posting ICE agents at polling stations?
We need ICE officials. I mean, they're I don't know why people are so offended with, ICE, capturing these people and holding them accountable for their actions. So I am 100%, I'm always rooting for ICE. Whenever I see that they've done their job, you know what? I applaud them because they're keeping us safe. Right now, according to the census, they say we have 11 million illegal aliens here in the United States. And you know what? That number hasn't changed in decades. And Kohler even made a comment about that. In reality, we don't know how many illegal aliens there are in our system, are here in the United States, because a lot of them are still in the shadows. So how many of those that we do not know about are blending in with other terrorist groups? How many of them are pedophiles? How many of them, are murderers? We don't know, because we don't know who they are or where they're at. They're working under the table. They're, doing God knows what. We don't know. Yes, these people need to come out of the shadows. Yes, we need to find a way to, have more American citizens report these people and send them back home, because they're posing a threat to our nation.
Agreed with you 100%. And unfortunately, the left has spent so much time sort of like defending these folks and not holding them to the same standards that you would hold any American citizen to, that now you're absolutely right. We have no idea how many there are. We have no idea how bad the problem actually is. And the longer Congress keeps on dragging its feet, the longer we're going to have these problems. Let's talk a little bit about Let's talk a little bit about the anthem, the national anthem protest. It makes me so mad when people do. And obviously, you have a right to free speech. Obviously, you have a right to stand or sit whenever you want. But you know what? That doesn't mean you should. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about these football players and all these actresses and actors who are basically like spitting and wiping their hands and mouth on the flag, on the American flag?
Why wasn't this a problem when Obama was president? Is my question. Why is it a problem now that Trump is president? It was never a problem when Obama was the president. There's plenty of pictures of him standing up for the national anthem and putting his hand on his heart. Why wasn't it a problem then? It's just another tactic that they're using to continue to resist Trump and continue to have something to get offended by.
Right. Now, speaking of getting offended, you are an outspoken conservative on Facebook. Now, of course, Facebook took into account your minority status because Facebook is all about social justice and all that stuff. They took into account your minority status and they basically let you off the hook for some of the conservative things you say. Is that a fair thing to say, that Facebook lets you speak conservative values because you're a minority, right?
For the most part, they have actually censored me several times. I have fought to get, to keep my page up. I have had to make a Twitter account, an Instagram account. My voice doesn't matter as a conservative minority. And it's funny because, I hear liberals always say how, how minorities should be heard. People of color should be heard. I'm still a person of color, even though I'm very light skinned. I'm still a person of color that they claim that my voice should be heard, that, my voice matters, but only if it fits their narrative. And since it doesn't, they will do anything in their power to report my page, say I'm a Russian bot, that I'm a troll, I'm a fake, and they have said that they have flagged my posts. I mean, so much that I've had to make a backup page, I had to make a Twitter account and an Instagram.
All because of the terrible, awful hate speech of, loving America and wanting to support America and wanting to be a good American. That's why people like us get banned from Twitter and Facebook, even though liberals are out there making death threats. They're making death threats to people. You and I get put in Facebook jail, in Facebook purgatory for saying things like, build the wall, like that's hate speech now, is build the wall. But yet someone can turn around and call you a racist, call you a wetback, call you every name in the book, and you are the one that gets banned from Facebook and Twitter.
I have reported every threat that has come my way to me, my son, my husband. I have reported every racial slur that has come my way from the left, calling me a beaner, a wetback. Go back to Mexico. I hope you die. I hope you get killed. I hope ICE deports you. I have reported all of those, and Facebook comes back to me saying that it does not violate their community standards.
I've gotten that all the time. There are one of the times that I got banned for 30 days. This is what happened, okay? Someone put out a tweet that basically said, I hope Trump and all his supporters get shot in the head and they die. Like basically talking about assassinations and stuff like that. I took a screen cap of this post and I posted it up on my page. I said, "This is treason." That's it. That's all I said. Guess what? I'm the one that gets banned for 30 days. Someone else can go and make threats. They can threaten the president. But I'm the one that gets banned for 30 days. How does that even compute? It makes it just goes to show you that the left is hell-bent on silencing us. And you know what? In that sense, they're right. The Statue of Liberty is crying a little bit, don't you think?
Oh, but it's not crying because of us. It's crying because of them.
Absolutely. And so what was the recent thing that you got? What was the recent thing that you got banned for? Today is what day is today? I'm all screwed up. Today is March 10th. So if you're listening to this on March 10th, you're probably not going to be able to find the Conservative Latina on Facebook because she's been banned for 24 hours. What got you banned?
Well, the Facebook page is still up there. However, I am not allowed to post anything for 24 hours. I'm not allowed to comment or anything like that. Also for my personal page. They would not tell me what I violated on my community, what on the community standards did I violate for my Conservative Latina page. But one of these trolls somehow found my personal page, and it was reported. And this was a meme that I made months ago that said, "Built the wall."
Right. Build the wall.
And it came back to me saying that something on your personal page, and it pulled up what it was. And I said, "Built the wall." Got me banned for 24 hours.
This is the new hate speech. Talking about normal, rational immigration policy. That is the new hate speech. Yet the liberals can go out there and create havoc, mayhem, death threats. You got philosophy teachers hitting conservatives with locks. You've got the big black bloc of Antifa going around, shutting down free speech, shutting down Ben Shapiro, shutting down Ann Coulter, shutting down any conservative speaker, anyone who they think might support a conservative value. Even Christina Hoff Sommers, a liberal who talks openly and honestly about feminism, they wanted to shut her down too. And what's going on in the community, what's going on in universities, this stuff is happening on Facebook, left and right. It is happening. It's happening every single day to conservatives. And what people need to do, like, for example, what people need to do is they need to actively go and sign up to the page and make sure that they are following the page, make sure that they are seeing our posts first, because Facebook will censor you. So if you go on to Conservative Latina, make sure that you click whatever you need to click on to see the posts first. Go and share, just like on the Disgruntled Millennial page. You have to share in order to bypass some of these discriminatory algorithms. Yeah, I would say the algorithms that prevent conservatives from talking are very, very, very discriminatory. And the only way that you can bypass them is to actually go out there and actively search for it. It shouldn't be that way. It should not be that way, because whenever a liberal posts something about intersectionality and all that stuff, it's trending on Twitter. You could see the difference in the way that these big tech companies and the way these big social media companies they like to push out their propaganda, and they like to hold back the other, the opposing side. So you actually have to go out and search for it. And if you're really paying attention closely, you can see how discriminatory it is towards freedom and towards American values and towards conservatives.
I completely agree. And it's like you said, you have to go to that individual's that conservative person's page, click on the follow arrow button, and just click the view first option. That is the only way our pages will show up on someone's timeline.
Right. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about, so you know how you have these magazines for Latinos or Latinas, and you have Ebony magazine, and they're all leftist magazines. They're all these lefty magazines. They're all totally social justice oriented. Have you ever tried to reach out to some of these magazines to see if they want to have a little bit more of a conservative kind of posting and kind of edging out a little bit? See if they want to have a more of a fair and balanced production going on there.
You want to know something funny? I have reached out to Univision and Telemundo, and they are very lefty, to see if I can get a story out there or whatever. This is how Univision particularly is very lefty. All they talk about is immigration. There aren't any conservative news channels for Hispanics. So all they have is Univision. All they have is what they're feeding them. And Univision is pretty much like CNN.
Right.
So it keeps going with that victim mentality. You're a minority, therefore you're a victim. That's it.
Right.
And you need to blame everything on the white Republican. As soon as I moved out, I was 18 when I moved out. I saw a big change in my life. When I moved to a red state, it was very different. I felt like I could breathe. There wasn't a taco stand on every corner, which was great. I missed the tacos, but there wasn't a taco stand on every corner. I didn't have to carry a knife with me, because there has been times that over there, I've been assaulted more by my own people than I have by any other one, because I lived in a ghetto community. I lived in the projects. I lived in Newark, New Jersey at that time. And I was surrounded, by other Hispanics that were there illegally. And as a woman, I've been jumped. I've been assaulted. That's why I haven't gone back over there in years. And now that I'm living in a red state, I've never had to worry about that. I carry a weapon with me, wherever I go. I know how to defend myself. There's a difference from living in a red state and a blue state.
How's your husband handling all this stuff?
I have seen people attack him. And it's very frustrating, because he is someone that I love dearly, and he is he's very articulate when he speaks, very well spoken, and he has never made him and I have been married, and we've been together for over 3 years, and he has never once pointed out my light skin color or that I don't look very Latina. There are some words that I have difficulty pronouncing in English, because English wasn't my first language, Spanish was. So there are certain words that I can't pronounce or that I'm not saying well. But he always, helps me out. And there's been several times where he makes, adds his 2 cents to these lefty pages. And there was a situation that happened. This white woman said, "Oh, I see that his wife is a children's book author," which I am. I've been writing children's books my whole life, and I kind of stopped doing that for a while. And she started attacking me, and she went to my page and saw that I do read for children in Black communities, Hispanic communities, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like reading to children. I always saw them as children. So she wrote, "I see that his wife is a children's book author, and that she reads to children, colored children is the word that she chose, colored children. How about I call her publisher and the school and let them know how much of a racist her husband and her are." All because my husband said that whites face as much discrimination as Blacks do. And that was the only comment he made. And She didn't like, this was a white woman that didn't like that. So I decided to get on her, and I said, "Look at here. I'm my own publisher, so only I can fire myself and remove the books off my bookshelves. But if you want to think you can do that, you go ahead, try." And as a minority, and as a woman, as someone that came here from a third world country, I don't condone racism. How dare you?
You know what?
She didn't expect that.
You know what? I think that you guys are a formidable team, and you guys should definitely stay out there and doing your thing and putting an end to this identity politics. And as far as you writing kids' books, I think that that's a great thing. I mean, we need kids' books out there that sort of that promote these conservative values. I think there are kids' books out there where they're trying to teach little children about transgenderism and colorism and racism and equality and social justice and all that stuff. I mean, equality, yeah, it's nice and everything, but not when you put freedom on the back burner in order to do it.
And my books have, the reason I started writing children's books is because I'm a Hispanic mother, and I'm raising a son that's got blondish hair and green eyes. He looks nothing like me. So he started having questions about his own identity, and he was getting attacked by other, children that were Latinos, saying that, well, he doesn't look like them. And then there were other kids that were, whites that were well, why don't you look Mexican? So my son has had a struggle with his own identity, and not being able to find children's books that, that he could relate to started becoming problematic. So that's why I became a children's book author, and I've been very successful at it. And I'm currently working on another children's book about American values and living in the melting pot of America, and how Latinos are in different beautiful shades. Blacks, come in beautiful shades. Whites come in beautiful shades. So that's something that I'm working on at the moment. And you're right. It's sad what the left is doing. They're brainwashing our children from the very start. They're, they're trying to get rid of their innocence.
I couldn't agree more. And it infuriates me to no end. Emma Jimenez, the Conservative Latina. I want to thank you so much for joining the show today, the Disgruntled Millennial. Where can everybody find you on Facebook and on Twitter before we wrap it up?
They can find me on Facebook. All they have to do is just type in the Conservative Latina, and it should pop up. It should pop right up, and make sure they get on the backup page too, just in case if Zuckerberg, decides to ban me from the first one. And for Instagram, it's let's see. For Twitter and Instagram, I'm trying to find it because I don't know it by memory. For Twitter, it's at the Conservative, TheConservati 19. And then Instagram is Conservative_Latina 45.
Thank you so much for joining the show. Again, this is Brett Siegel, the Disgruntled Millennial, broadcasting to you, not live from my safe space down here in Northern Florida, always free from your bigotry, racism, hatred, microaggressions, and patriarchy. You can get me on Facebook at The Disgruntled Millennial, and just in case we get zucked, which we do all the time, you can check out The Disgruntled Millennial 2. It's our backup page. You can also get me on Twitter at Shaq General. Again, The Conservative Latina. Thank you so much for joining the show. And
thank you.
And we'll be signing out now. I'm definitely going to have you back, and maybe one day we can do a show with you and your husband. We can have a little family mediation session. You know what I mean? So we can mediate the difference between you and your white husband and the Latina, the wife. Just oh my God, lefties are always going to left.
Oh yeah, well, definitely. I think my white chocolate thunder would love that.
Excellent. And anyway, this is Brett Siegel, the Disgruntled Millennial, signing out.
Hey now, this is Cowboy Jeff at Cowboy Jeff Sucks on Twitter. If you're not listening to the Disgruntled Millennial podcast, then you're probably wearing a fucking burqa.